Good evening, members of the Church of Good Shepherd Atlanta and the entire family of God. Praise God. My name is Loyce Odhiambo, and on behalf of Reverend Jackson and the leadership of Church of Good Shepherd Atlanta, I'm here this evening to just give you the word of the day, and I really, really hope that it's going to bless you. So let's just bow our heads and pray. Thank you so much, Father, for loving us. Thank you so much, God, for just helping us to be where we are today, God. It's because of you that we have gone this far, and it's because of you, Father, that you're leading us to greater places. As your people are gathered to hear your word, Father, may it not be from me, but from you, Father. May it lead to the purpose that you have purposed for it to reach, God. This I pray, believe, and trusting in Jesus' name. Amen. So, people of God, today I have a special, special message for each and every one of you. And I really, really pray that God will give you the right ear to understand what it is that He has put in my heart today. I am so excited, and I really pray that it's going to be a blessing to you at the end of this evening and whatever other time you're going to listen to it. So, what we are really looking at this evening is the power in what you are left with. Can you see how just amazing that is? The power in what you are left with. How many things are you left with in this season? I know 2020 has been crazy. And I remember there was a time when everybody was so amazed and dazed that, just walking into 2020, there were celebrations everywhere, there were fireworks everywhere, across all churches, across all countries, all over the continent. We were so happy to walk into this year. But little did we know that there was um, something so huge coming our way. We didn't know that there was a big, big mountain that was there for us to cross. We didn't know that there was something so big that was going to bar us from reaching where it is that we had hoped we would reach in this 2020. And so, so many of us have lost so many things, and I'm sure you have lost a lot as well. And even if it's not you, there's so many people around you who may have lost so much. It could be a family member, it could be a friend, it could even be your income, okay? Some income have been slashed, okay, by half, by quarter, and some have lost the whole of it, right? Some have lost hope, okay? Right now, if you tell somebody that the Lord is there for you, they may just look at you and wonder, why are you telling me? So some people have lost hope. Some people have lost faith. This year, our pastor Reverend Jackson placed it in our hearts to have ever increasing faith. But that little faith that you had is gone because of what has happened this year. Some people have lost that trust in God, that trust that you had, that I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. It's also lost. And some have lost that belief that they have in themselves. Some have lost the power within themselves. But this evening, I want to encourage us. I want to go through a few verses in the Bible that will actually lead you to understand that there is power in what you are left with. Because when we look at Exodus chapter 4, verse 2, um, we see God calling Moses. All right? And Moses feels that he is not equipped at all to do what God wants him to do. And he says all kinds of things. I cannot do it. I'm a stammerer, God. I cannot do it alone. Will I have a help? And God looks at the most insignificant thing that Moses had. All right? I'm saying insignificant because according to the eyes of the world, it was really insignificant. And that was the staff. And what the staff used to be for was beating sheep around. Okay, you see the stubborn sheep that wants to get into that corner and they're refusing to go. That's what the staff was being used for. But as God saw the staff as the miracle, as the tool of miracle that would lead the Israelites into freedom. What Moses was holding, so insignificant, but God saw it as so powerful because that is what he had. He had his staff on his hand. And God saw that as the tool of miracles that is going to lead the Israelites to freedom. How about you look at another verse? When you look at First Kings chapter 17, verse 11, it says, this one talks about Elijah and the widow at Zarephath, okay? And Elijah has come to visit her, and he asks her, will you bring me a little water in a jar so I may have a drink? And then the verse says, as she was going to get it, he called, and bring me, please, a piece of bread. You can imagine somebody walking into your house today, and let's say you lost your job, or maybe your salary has been cut by half, and someone says, you know, those friends who come, maybe give me some juice. You know, I think that those friends are really confident. Give me some juice, and you're like, okay, fine, let me offer them juice. At least I have this. And then they further on tell you, still give me, still there's some meat as well. You can help me with some meat. We eat meat today, and then you're just feeling, oh no, where am I going to get all this from? I just have a little left for my family and I. We just have this little left, like we just have this much left for me and my family. And you know, the widow replied to him and said, only a handful of flour in a jar and a little olive oil is what we have to eat and die. That is what she told him. You see, she called it just a handful. Yet, little did she know that that handful is what God was going to use to multiply and to increase her. Okay? So I'm telling you this evening, don't chase away your visitors. You may never know what it is that they're bringing. They may not be holding that blood in their arms or that 1,000 shillings to come and give you. But they're blessings. They're blessings all the way, and you never know where they are coming from or who is bringing them to you. So keep giving in this season, okay? Keep giving and give to the Lord in this season. If you used to give you know, 100 shillings offering every Sunday, you can even make it 200. It doesn't mean that God is not there anymore. He's the one who still increases us. He's the one who still gives us all these things that we have even today. And to our point, what you have, what you are left with, can still do so much for God. And even as we learn these things of the power in what you are left with, how do we position ourselves so that whatever it is that we are left with can actually do so much? How do we position ourselves so that whatever tiny thing, whatever insignificant thing in your life, maybe it's that little money you have left, maybe it's it's that little house that you are in now with your family, and you're like, we are stepping on each other. It's so small, it's so tiny. I mean, we used to run all over the place, but now we're just kicking one another because the space is so small. Let me tell you one thing. This is how you can position yourself so that whatever it is that you have left will be increased by God. So, the first one is believing that you are God's child. Do you know that you are God's child? All right? And you are a son of God. You are a daughter of God. Let's look at John chapter 14, which says, let not your heart be troubled. Jesus was speaking to the disciples and he was telling them, let not your hearts be troubled. I know we have this song in our hearts where we sing on Sundays, or we sing in occasions, and we say, let not your heart be troubled. You know? And with that, do we actually mean the words of that song? Jesus is telling us our hearts should not be troubled. And he goes on to say, believe in God, believe also in me. Alright? Jesus is telling them, believe in God, believe also in me. And he continues to say, in my Father's house are many mansions. This is not for some people, it's for you and me. Because you are a son of God and you are a daughter of God. In my Father's house are many mansions. If it were not so, would I have told you that I go to prepare a place for you? And if I go to prepare a place for you, I will come again and take you to myself. Listen to what Jesus is saying. He will come again and take you to himself. I like that phrase, take you to himself. It definitely means that you are his. And what is yours, you grab. Look at your child. You will grab your child. Why? because your child belongs to you. Look at the money you get on a daily basis. You will grab it. Why? Because it belongs to you. You have worked so much, you've worked so hard for it, and it belongs to you, and so it is yours. Everything that belongs to you, you get it with your very own heart. You're like, it is mine. So Jesus is also telling us that if I go to prepare a place for you, I will come again and take you to myself. It's like grabbing, I will grab you to myself because he knows you belong to him. And he says, that's where I am, you may be also. And you know the way I am going. So one phrase here is very key. Jesus is telling them, you know the way that I am going. And this is so interesting because even the disciples are asking him, which is this way that you are going? But Jesus believes that they know the way that he's going. And even may ask myself, Jesus, what did you mean by the way? Where is this way that you are going? You know? And I realized that this way is actually Jesus. Jesus is the way. Because he continues to say that no one goes through the Father but through him. Nobody goes through the Father but through Jesus himself. So if you are looking for that way, Jesus is the way. He is the truth. He is the life. He is the Prince of Peace. He is righteous. He is loving. He is a brother. He is a father. He is all these beautiful things. Okay? And he is the way that she was actually talking about. And number one was you are God's child. Number two, believe in the power of God in you. How many of us actually believe that there's power deposited in us to overcome all forms of struggle and stress? How many of you believe that right now where you are seated, there's so much power in you and you're full of it? You are created for greater works. Remember, you were created for greater works. In John chapter 14, verse 12, it says, verily, verily, I tell you, whoever believes in me will do the works I have been doing. They will, they will do even greater things than this. Okay? Whoever believes in me will do the works I have been doing, and they will do even greater things than this. And why will we be able to do greater things than this? Because Jesus abides in us and we in him. Alright? You can only do these greater works because Jesus is abiding in you. And Jesus cannot abide in you alone if you don't abide in him. And that's why he stresses, abide in me and I in you. It's a two-way thing. And John chapter 15, verse 7 says, if you want to understand what this abiding means, John chapter 15, verse 7 clarifies that if you abide in me and my words abide in you, ask whatever you wish. You have lost something, ask whatever you wish. You have the little that you have in your hand, ask whatever you wish. You have only 10 shillings remaining, ask whatever you wish, and it will be done for you. Ask whatever you wish, and it will be done for you. Just do not say, ask some things, or ask a few things, whatever. And you know what whatever means? Whatever can cut across the board. Anything that you desire, but of course according to his will. And I've already told you, according to his will definitely means according to what he has purposed for you in life, according to the good things that he has for you. Alright? So why do we abide in Jesus? Why does Jesus say we abide in him and he in us? Why? So that we may bear fruit. We may bear much fruit, and we may prove to be his disciples. Trust me, in this COVID-19 season, so many Christians have been through so much. But Jesus is still telling us to abide in him, and we in him, and him in us, that we may bear much fruit and prove to be his disciples. Prove to be his disciples. Because he knows that there is going to be proof in someone's life. So that someone who is feeling that all is lost can actually see it in you. That God has actually done something in your life. And Jesus continues to, give us the example of the vineyard when he talks about abiding in him and us in him, and him in us. And he says that when a branch is tied, when the branch is tied to the vineyard, okay, that is when we can only bear fruit. But if the branch is cut off, it is not bearing fruit anymore. And one other thing in the vineyard is you will see that it is watered, okay? For it to actually spruce up, it is watered, okay? And fruit it bears fruit, right? But one really important thing in the vineyard that happens that nobody likes is that the vineyard is pruned, okay? The vineyard is pruned. Listen, we are abiding in Jesus so that we may bear much fruit. But we are pruned so that we may even bear more fruit, much more fruit. And pruning is the most difficult time for everybody's life. For any Christian's life, nobody wants to be pruned because pruning is painful. Pruning is tiresome. You're like, oh no, I'm losing this. I'm losing my mind. I can't take this anymore. I have lost my job. I've lost my home. I don't have food. You are being pruned. Why? Because you're still in God's will. You are still in God's will. And so many of us don't want to be pruned. But Jesus is telling us we are being pruned so that we may bear even much more fruit than what we can really bear. And let me tell you something. Last year was really hard for me as a person. As a young person living in this country, last year was one of the most trying times of my life. But then I didn't know that God was actually pruning me to sustain me this year. Because this year I can actually stand and say that God is faithful because of what He did in my life. He is faithful. He has sustained me. What I felt I had lost is actually given to me in this year when everything else was falling apart. Why? Because He pruned me. And God finishes to prune you for His glory. He wants those around you to be mesmerized, to say, oh no, look, we thought they were failing, but they're up again. Why? Because you believed, you kept up your hope. You said that Jesus is Lord. Even if they tell me this, my Jesus is my Lord, and I will overcome. And the third one and the last one, have faith. Okay? Number one was you are God's child, you're God's daughter, and you're God's son. Number two was believe in the power of God in you. And the last one is have faith. Now, having faith, look, you have lost your faith. But are you left with even just a tiny little bit of faith? That is what God is going to use. Look at the woman who bled for so many years. There's something I want you to see in this story. This woman had that Jesus was coming. All right? She had that Jesus was coming. And then she came where Jesus was. And then she touched his garment. I want to break these three things for you: had, came, and touched. Now, when she had, she could have had so many other voices. She could have had the voice of, now you've spent everything, so seriously. If you go to Jesus, you think you're going to get anything. Maybe someone was telling her, now if the doctors already said you're done, you're done. I mean, you've spent all your time. I mean, you're done. There's nowhere else to go. Or someone would have said, you're too dirty to even be close to Jesus. She could have had all these voices people are telling us, pana, corona imetuweza, nothing is going to move, the economy is poor, it's not going to pick up, and for it to pick up, it will take lots of years. Our kids are not going to go to school, we have no money for school fees, and people are going to tell you all these things. Trust me, the voices are so many, so many. But this woman who had led for so many years, she chose to hear only one voice. She chose to hear only one voice, and that was the voice of Jesus. She chose to hear she chose to hear one thought. You can have so many thoughts in your mind, so many thoughts going on in your head. How will people see me when I touch him? How will people see me when I get close to them? How will people see me when I do this and that? But she chose to hear the right thing. So I encourage you this evening to choose to hear what God is doing in your life. Oh God, can you share nothing?
Simamishe ya live watu wanakuja watu wanakuja